In our last tutorial, I showed you how to set up a photo grid using Photoshop. Let's do the same thing, but this time working in InDesign. In this case, when I set up my document, I have the correct size of the document, and I also typed in the correct size of my margins. Now, InDesign does allow you to quickly and easily create grids of lines on your document, just like Photoshop does. You can go up to Layout and down to Create Guides. And this is where you can type in a specific set of rows and columns inside of your layout. But just like with Photoshop, I don't necessarily want this over my entire design. I just want to create a grid system in one particular area. So I'm not going to use that for this design, although it will come in handy later. Instead, we're going to go over to our toolbox and locate the rectangle frame tool. If you don't see it, it could be hiding underneath your other frame tools, but we want to use the rectangle frame. With the rectangle frame, I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to click and drag and create one large rectangular frame. Now if you want, you can hold down your Shift key and it'll give you a perfectly square rectangle. But while I'm holding this down, and I'm still holding down my mouse, click the up arrow, and you can see it will start to divide your rectangle into multiple sections. So if I hit up, I can add rows, and if I hit to the left or the right, I can divide it into columns. And this is what I want. I want to have a row and column of 4 by 4 rectangles. I'm going to drag it all the way down to the very bottom, holding down my Shift key. Now there is one particular problem with this. I don't want to have a gap between all 3 of these. So now that I've let go of my mouse and committed to these frames, let's choose our black arrow selection tool, go down to the very bottom corner, and hold down your space bar as you click and drag, and notice that this will not change the size of the squares, but it will change the spacing. So I'm going to bring them in until they're all touching together. Now with them all laid out the way I want them, I'll go back down to my bottom, not hold down my space bar, but hold down my Shift and resize it to be the overall size that I want everything to be. In my case, staying inside of my margins. Now we can draw on our rulers to establish our grid. Going up to the rule, click on the guide and drag it till it matches each of the rows and column edges. And we'll do the same for the vertical as well. Now that I've got my grid established, all I need to do is to place my images. So selecting this top one, I want it to go across both of these. So I'll get rid of this one and I'll resize this frame. With the frame selected, you can go up to File and down to Place, and then locate the pictures that you want to use. In our case, I believe we placed this one inside of there. We'll say Open. And then we need to resize it to sit inside of here. Notice that it's a really large picture. To quickly and easily resize it, select the frame, then go up to your tool options at the very top and choose either Fit Frame Proportionally or Fit Content. In my case, if I did it to Fit Content, it'll scale all the way down, but it'll leave a little bit of gap. So I want to fit the frame proportionally. That will scale it up. Also, if I need to readjust this, I can click on the circle on the inside. This will select the content, and I can click on the outer edge and readjust and reposition it where I need it to be from there. Do this for all of the other pictures. Now with all of the photographs established, let's make a white border around everything and inside the grid. With that one, we'll go over to our toolbox and select the regular rectangle frame tool. Go up to our tool options at the top, set your fill color to be none, but set your stroke color to be paper. In addition, I'll increase the size of the width to be 12 point, and then all I have to do is to drag a rectangle inside of this area. In this case, you can see that 12 points is a lot larger than what we did on Photoshop, so I need to readjust the size of this. Let's bring it down just a bit more. As within Photoshop, you can also open your stroke panel, and with the stroke selected, you can adjust where the stroke is aligned. In this case, it's aligned to the center, but in our case, maybe we want it to be the outside edge. And I can see that a good 3-point stroke is what will work for us. Let's do the same for the lines. I can choose my line tool, set my stroke to be appropriate for up here, so we'll set it to be 3 points, and then draw a line down all of the edges of your lines. With that done, we can make a copy of each line. We can back out, and as we did in Photoshop, we can also readjust the alignment and sizing of our text to fill out that area up at the top nicely. So now that it fits in that area and is also aligned with that guide. To preview your work, you can either hit the W on your keyboard, or you can go over to the bottom and make sure you're working in preview mode. And then once you like what you get, you can go back to normal mode on the side too. So this is the quick and easy way of establishing a grid. For me personally, I think InDesign is the faster method, but in Photoshop, it also gives you the ability to do other edits to your photographs, such as changing the color, applying special effects, if you want to do that for your design.